Hi folks, this is Keith Beardsley, Victor Echo 3 Sierra Victor Quebec, also known as the Shaky Key. So this is sort of another Shaky Key blog if you want. And in this particular video, I return to Park Victor Echo 1638. Now this is the Taylor Conservation Area in the town of Osgood, which is about roughly 20 minutes from my house. So it's an easy one for me to do. At the same time, I thought this one we'd show a little bit more of the technical side. I've been getting questions on antennas and, you know, what type of batteries, how does this hook up and that type of thing. So there's a more explanation than, you know, showing you pictures of the park and me operating and that type of thing. So it's a nice park. It's just probably 20-25 minutes out of downtown Ottawa, depending on which route you go. And most of the time it's pretty empty. And even on a major holiday, this park is pretty empty. So it's a great one for doing Pota. And in this case, I didn't have that much time, so it was a complete mobile setup, one that I used quite a bit now. So enjoy the video. At the end of it, of course, we'll always have some lessons learned segments. Thank you very much. Enjoy the video. I've had a few questions from people about what type of antenna I'm using on the car here. It's really pretty simple and straightforward. That's the MFJ base magnetic mount. Now I just use the one. Like this, there's also a version with like 3 legs, which is much stronger and much more supportive. But you'll see in a minute, it's quite hard to get this one off the roof as it is. Now, I don't drive with mine on, and if I did, I might consider the 3-legged one, but for now, this is more than enough. This will give you an idea of how well that one sits. So that's basically the middle. You can see it flip down. Try and lift that off with one hand. It really doesn't want to move. So it gives you an idea there, finally. So that's on pretty solid, and the roof supports it quite well. Like I say, some people drive with it like that. I would probably put the bigger magnetic base on if I was driving with this type of antenna, but it's pretty solid up there. Now I have 2 different MFJ antennas that I use. One's a 40 meter and the other is a 20 meter antenna, so you have to put one up at a time. And to give you an example, those who are looking for it, that's the 40 meter and that's your 20 meter. You can call them antennas or what. Most people just refer to them as a ham stick. There are a couple of other varieties on the market as well. It just happens to be the one that was the easiest to get up here in Ontario where I am. There are some other ones I looked at down in the States, but the cost of shipping them up here just doubled the price. So I ended up going with ones I could get in Canada. Now the antenna, actually very simple to put together. You've got the end that screws in. You've got a top part where you've got a whip here that goes into as well. And it's pretty straightforward. Once you get it in, there we go. Now you can tweak these, you can play with them, you can adjust the length of the whip and see where you get your best SWR. These are the type of things you would be doing normally. To tighten it, you've got 2 little screws here. Now they give you an Allen wrench with it. I prefer my own. And it's just a matter of tightening it up and getting that whip set into place. And then of course it goes up on the roof. So that's really what it looks like when you're done. There's your base part. There's the big long whip part attached to it. So pretty simple. After that, it's simply a matter of screwing it in. There you go. That's the 20 meter whip installed. Pretty simple. There it is going up. that's the one we're going to start with today. There, so the radio is installed, or at least hooked up in its usual spot. I haven't attached the battery yet. The antenna's on though. Number one, never forget your antenna to attach it. Now, one of the things a lot of people forget when we make these videos is there's an awful lot of people out there who have never done this before, have no clue what we're doing, and are trying to learn. So I thought, based on some of the questions I get asked, maybe I would expand on it just a little bit with this video, seeing I am back at the same park that I've done a couple of times before. So some people were asking about the battery. So most of these batteries, Canadian prices, somewhere between 80 and 100 bucks. The one that I use, you can get at Cabela's. You can either order it online, or you can, if you've got one near us, feel like we do here in Ottawa, you can go out and you can get it. And this is the battery here. Excellent little battery. Getting some glare from the sun there. It's an excellent little battery. You can see by the size of my hand on it that this is not very big, but it will give me 10 hours anyways, and maybe a bit less with my radio. The ICOM is known for using a bit more power when you transmit, but you don't have to transmit at 100 watts either, and there's lots of studies and there's videos out there of the amateurs testing, what's the signal strength at, say, 5 watts, 10 watts, 20 watts, 50 watts, and so on. So if you're trying to conserve power, maybe keep it around, anywhere between 20 and 50. Your battery will last a bit longer. Well, that's the side of the battery. You can see it sitting on the dash. There's my GPS beside it. So it's not very big. It's very lightweight. So if you're backpacking in anywhere, it's good. And I can say it's definitely a good quality battery. Now, when you buy these, and this is important, you need a special charger for them. You cannot use a regular battery charger like you'd use for a car battery. So the first time you buy one, you're going to need a battery charger. They're going to cost you, whatever, another 30, 40, 50 bucks, but you can use them on multiple batteries. So that first battery you get is going to be a little bit more expensive. Now, to hook the battery up, this is the cable here. That end will actually hook onto the two little studs on the battery. Just slides right in. Nice clip. The other end down here, this is hooked up to the Anderson power poles, so I can just plug and unplug, into my radio. Now, it did mean, putting a set of power poles onto the radio, and having another set of power poles that would hook the radio up to my power supply at home. But it's very simple, and once you've got it done, and I did figure it out. Actually, I had someone help me the first time, making some silly mistakes, but they showed me how to do it, and there's tons and tons of videos how to do it. Once you've got it, everything's good to go. This end plugs into the radio cable, the other end onto the battery. So there you go. It's hooked up to the battery. The cable runs back down, is hooked up into the radio cable, and we're set to go. Now, with everything supposedly hooked up right, the magic moment comes when you push that little power button. And there you go. We're in business. Now, two other items that I've gotten into the habit of bringing along. One is my iPad. As you can see, I can log into the Pota web page here. And this allows me to do a couple of things. It allows me to spot myself, of course, once I pick a frequency and make sure it's clear. I can spot myself on there. Others can find me. At the same time, I can look and see where everybody else is. So sometimes you'll see a clump of the Pota stations. There might not be, say, I don't know, anywhere between, let's say, 14,200 and 14,300. There might be 3 or 4 of them. So if you're near them, people will find you, as opposed to being way off, somewhere on the band where there's nobody around you. So it does help because people can scroll through pretty fast, go from one park to another. So I use that a lot. It's helpful. Now, a lot of people will actually use a logging program like this, an electronic one, and they will sit there and they will record everything on their iPad or whatever it is that they're using. I don't. I'm still old-fashioned. I still like to write things down. So I still go back to, you know, the old clipboard. There it is with all the sections done. So I've got it set up for me. And it's just, I write them down as I talk to people. And I find it does two things. In some ways, it's a bit of a pain because you then have to go in and enter the data into your computer at home. So that slows things down a little bit. But I find sometimes, especially with a difficult call, I remember it better. And if there's an issue that I'm trying to remember, was that a D or was it a B that the person was saying? When I've got it written down here, I know what they said. You know, I'm not going to just sort of tap the wrong key on an iPad or something like that. I've written it down, double-checked it with them, and I try and do that with everyone I speak to. You know, make sure, you know, confirm your call sign to me and read it back to them, that type of thing. So there's lots of little things. Everyone likes to do it their own way. There'll be other people out there who will say, oh, he's crazy, you know, use an iPad. I happen to like this. I don't worry about iPad batteries running out or anything else. It's nice and simple, and I'm always a big fan of the KISS principle, keep it simple, stupid, and it tends to work for me. Now, I've got everything plugged in, and one of the advantages to the ICOM, I know it burns a bit more power than some, you know, so battery life and that's important, but the ICOM does come with a built-in tuner. And so I don't need a portable tuner. I don't have anything else I have to plug in. It's got a tuner right on it, and I think that's excellent. I love that feature on it, and you know, down the road it's whatever each individual prefers. Anybody on this frequency? Anybody on this frequency? Anybody on this frequency? CQ Pota, CQ Pota, CQ Pota. Victor Echo 3, Sierra, Victor Quebec, calling CQ Parks on the air from Victor Echo 1638. Standing by. CQ Pota, CQ Pota, CQ Pota. Victor Echo 3, Sierra, Victor Quebec at Park, Victor Echo 1638. Standing by. Victor Echo 3, Sierra, Victor Quebec, Park to Park. Victor Echo 3, Sierra, Victor Quebec, from Victor Echo 1638, you're 5-9. Roger, Victor Echo 1638, 1638. QSL on that. Thank you very much. Good luck. I have a Kilo Zanzibar 9 whiskey. Is that correct? Hey, Roger. Thank you for the 5-8. You're about the same. 5-8 into Ottawa and Park Victor Echo 1638. Hey, Roger. Thanks for hunting. Well, that was a real tough activation. Managed to get it in, got the number I needed, but that was rough. So many stations on the 20-meter band and some very big ones. And I think I moved 5 or 6 times to a different frequency because I was just getting buried by some big stations that never asked if the frequency was in use. They just jumped in and all of a sudden they're there. So that was tough, but it's done, successful. Lessons learned, who knows? I'll have to think about it. Anyways, for those of you watching, thank you very much, always appreciated. Feel free to drop comments down below. And of course, watch for more. So Victor Echo 3, Sierra, Victor Quebec, wishing you all a great day. Well, now to the section that I always like doing, which is the lessons learned. Yesterday was a successful activation. I wasn't there that long, probably on the air maybe an hour, hour and a half, I guess, roughly. So, you know, it's close to my house. It's about 20 odd minutes from it. So it's a nice park for me to do on short notice, and one where I don't really have to, you know, book off time. I can just go and do. So it was lots of fun from that way. The issue that I would look at right now is actually lesson number one, the ability to spot yourself to start and the ability to change it and update it. Yesterday, for whatever reason, there were so many stations on. A lot of Europeans were coming in, and no matter where I would go, I think I moved 5 times, I would start calling CQ and be into it for 15, 20 minutes, and some other station would just come in right across the top of me or right beside me and just wipe me out. So because I had my iPad, I could sit there and very quickly find another spot and then respot myself. So I think that was essential. The other big one for me, which I realized yesterday, was anticipating where the sun's going to be and where the radio is. And mistake I made yesterday was the angle the sun came down, because the sun, of course, keeps moving. For part of that time was actually sort of blocking my view of the screen. So I would have to, hold my hand up or hold my notepad up over it so that I could read the screen and see the time and everything else. So that was something that I hadn't thought about, but I will now. And I guess the last item is just have a lot of patience. There were some times I was 20 minutes without getting a single call back, but then all of a sudden I would get, maybe 2, maybe 3. So it was an interesting one. Like I say, yesterday was very strange. I was getting a lot of Spanish stations. I got one from Italy as well. And I don't usually get those when I'm doing Parks on the Air. So there you go. That's it from me. And here's hoping you have a good day. Victor Echo 3, Sierra Victor Quebec, saying 73.